Who is the best leader for Qajar? This is either a slam dunk or a heated argument. The term play styles comes up a lot among Civ 7 players. Some people like to play tall, with a few cities built up, while others like to play wide, with settlements spread far and, wide. This game accommodates both styles of play, with leaders and civs that suit either approach. Even for someone like me who's uncomfortable with just a few cities, and just as uncomfortable conquering the map, there's plenty of room for a middle ground style of play. With the Qajar, we have a civ that is clearly meant for tall play. So I automatically do not know if I am the best person to designate the best leader for them. But I'm going to give it a shot. With Sheila in the video I'll link to in the description below, I felt a lot more comfortable. They were more my style. Qajar, though, is interesting. I'll give them that. So let's take a closer look. The Qajar get plus 50% influence towards supporting diplomatic actions as their special ability. So that can cover a broad array of sins in the diplomatic world. So that could be handy to a lot of different leaders. And they also get plus 30% production towards constructing their special wonder, the Iram Garden, which gives them plus 4 food and plus 1 specialist limit in that city. So that's pretty handy for other types of leaders as well. We'll come to that. The unique units and buildings, the Golem, unique cavalry unit, plus 5 combat strength and plus 10 HP. Healing in command radius of a Sandar. Okay. Ignore zone of control. Sure. All of that's good, and again, has definite appeal to different types of leaders. The Sardar is a unique army commander, plus 1 movement. You can raise a district and also raise the district next to it. Very handy and fun. They and the Bulgarians should get together. Then the Bach, the unique quarter created by constructing, I'm not going to pronounce all of these, one half of the quarter and the other half of the quarter in the same district, with plus 10% culture and plus 10% influence in the settlement when in a celebration. All of these things come into play in looking at what leaders might be most appropriate. Then we have the 2 halves of the district. One gives plus 9 food and plus 1 happiness adjacency for gold buildings and wonders. Then we have plus 9 happiness and plus 1 influence adjacency for culture buildings and wonders. You can see the Qajar cover a lot of different types of grounds here. And they deal in a lot of the big R resources. That's what I call them, rather than the tradable resources. But it's worth taking a look at their civic tree briefly just to see what other kinds of things they have going on. Okay, so with the Sun Throne, we have, the first half of the unique quarter with its happiness and influence. And we also have the name I can't pronounce, Palace, which gives you half a point of influence for every population in the capital. And considering that the capital is going to be fairly large eventually, that's going to be quite a bit of influence over the course of the game. So that's pretty handy. And then you have the Iram Garden that's unlocked by this as well. Then the mastery for the Sun Throne gives you, when you support an endeavor, you receive 200 culture and the other player receives 100 gold. So that's a special diplomatic thing. Again, of interest to certain leaders more than others. It's with the 12 gates that things start to get what I would consider a little bit weird. Sure, you have the other half of the unique quarter, but if you look down below, you have a tradition that gives you plus 10 science and plus 10 culture in the capital for every settlement under the settlement limit. meaning the more you go over the limit, and this is an expansionist culture, remember, the more you go over the limit, the more you're penalized, or the closer you get to that limit, the more you're penalized. The more you're under it, the more you benefit. And this is going to come up at least 2 more times in their civic tree. You can see that the mastery for 12 gates gives you plus 10 food and plus 10 production in the capital for every settlement under the settlement limit. Do you see the pattern? And just to hammer home the point here, you get plus 1 combat strength for every 2 settlements under the limit to land combat units. So really, yeah, build tall and, carry very few settlements under your belt. Then we have commanders are stationed on a district provide plus 15 happiness. Again, we keep coming back to happiness. It seems to be a big part of Qajar culture, and it's something that's going to come up in our leadership picks as well. Let's take a look at some leader prospects then. When it comes to the best possible leaders for Qajar, I want to look first at some interesting prospects. I don't know how convincing I can be about them, but I just want to throw them out there as possibilities. So let's start in alphabetical order with some of those, and then I'll finish up with the leaders that I think would probably be the best options overall for Qajar. But boy, it's a tough call as to which is which in this case. Now, first of all, we have Ada Lovelace. What I like about her is that she has these extra bonuses for science and for culture, in particular the culture. And I think this makes her a possibility for the Qajar because they have a slight cultural leaning along with their celebrations and all of that. And when it comes to playing tall or wide, she is, well, I guess agnostic. I don't think it really matters to her whether you play tall or wide. I think she'd work good with either type. Now, that doesn't mean she'd be the best leader for this civilization, but I think she'd do okay with them. The same goes for Benjamin Franklin, except maybe a little more so, because he would add production to their already strong production game, and he would add science to the culture they receive for their endeavor supporting. So every time they support an endeavor, instead they would get culture and science. So that's a bit of a benefit too. He kind of dovetails with them nicely. I don't know if either of them make the other stronger. I think a little bit, but is it enough? That's the thing. I think they could work together, but are they the best options? And that I don't know. Harriet Tubman is maybe at first an offbeat selection, but then you think about it and you go, Qajar's special ability, which is 50% influence towards diplomatic actions, and they get this influence from population and from their unique quarter, that adds up pretty fast. And then she brings her espionage discounts and her war support. And I think Qajar could probably see a lot of benefit for this uh, mutual attraction the two might have for each other. In fact, I think the ones I've mentioned so far, she might be the best of the least at this point. I think Tubman would be interesting. That would be one I would like to try myself. Then we have Isabella, and I every time there's a new Civ, I'll probably be putting Isabella as a potential leader. Not because she's my favorite, but she could work probably with anybody. Uh, she brings growth, but in the modern age, and so would she work as well at the later stages of the game? If she had built up a number of wonders over the course of the game, then yes, I think she could work quite well. If you just parachuted her in and were playing a modern era game, then no, that would suck, I think. But if you're with her from the start and she takes on the Qajar at the end, that could work. I don't see her as being especially powerful with them. or them with her, but she could work. Jose Rizal, on the other hand, whoa, I started looking at him and, celebrations I saw, happiness I saw as something that the two had in common. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, why isn't he in my top 3 or 4 here? But he brings happiness and celebration synergy and culture, gold, and influence from narrative events. And that little bit of influence, well, it's not a big deal, but it's something, and it adds to their growing pool of influence. And it's the happiness and celebrations that I think are very interesting. They could really power each other. Rizal and Qajar with the happiness and the celebrations. That could be quite productive. Again, another one I would like to try myself. But since I haven't really proven it in the field, he's not in my top 4. So this is my top 4. Now, are these ranked in order of their powerfulness with Qajar? Kinda. Again, I'm on uncertain ground here for me because it's not my strength, this type of play. But alongside Jose Rizal, I think a real offbeat choice and maybe an interesting one would be Charlemagne. Now, where Genghis Khan wouldn't really work with these guys because he's an expansionist leader, uh, you know, and it's all expansion all the time, Charlemagne could be an expansionist leader, but he has a couple of things in common with the Qajar that could make him settle down and just conquer locally. First of all, this guy loves his horses, and Qajar has a strong cavalry. But they also produce happiness in their unique quarter and would help spawn more horses. And Qajar gets influence and culture from celebrations. Who do we know who loves celebrations among the leaders? And he brings a +1 happiness to science buildings. A minor point, but it's more happiness. I could really see Charlemagne and Qajar working well together. Maybe it's just a fever dream. I don't know. But you guys could try it out. Again, another one I'd like to try myself. Now, a more standard response to this is my third choice, and that would be Confucius. And he might be some people's first choice. He brings 25% growth rate in cities, and if the Qajaris only have a few cities, then yeah, this could be great for those cities. And +2 science from specialists. And these guys, they love their specialists in their high growth cities. So, he's a perfect fit in some ways. I, Not a very exciting fit for me. He and one of the other leaders in my top 3, they're actually guys I don't know if I'll play with Qajar, but I think they might be the best fit overall. You can tell me what you think about this. I'm really not sure myself. My second pick is actually Augustus. Now, in some ways he doesn't fit, and in some ways he does. He's an expansionist in a different kind of way from the Qajar. And maybe this would hurt his +2 production in the capital from every town. Yeah, definitely. But he can fill towns with culture buildings. And then you add urban centers to that, and he can provide almost a full slate of first tier buildings without cities, easing the need for more and more settlements. So, in a weird way, he helps them not grow in terms of numbers of settlements. And he gets 50% gold towards buying buildings in towns. So, he saves you a little money too. So you can fill up your towns with all the things you would ordinarily get in cities, and thereby diminish the need to get even more settlements, I think. Now, maybe that's a bit of an abstract argument, but I think he would be a good leader for the Qajar. And then we have a leader that I think everybody might pick as their first choice for the Qajar, and that's Pachacuti. or they might not. The production food synergy he brings is really hard to resist. And specialists not paying the happiness penalty when next to mountains, it's a small point, but that helps keep the smiles and momentum rolling. Now, I pick him as the number one pick with not a lot of certainty at all, I got to tell you. Partly because I'm just not sure. It's not my style of play, so I don't know. But the other reason is that I personally have not had a lot of luck with Pachacuti. He's not been fun for me. I don't find him fun to play, even though I know a lot of people do. So I'm definitely in the minority there. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to make him number one, but I'm kind of going on the excitement that other people have. I'm riding on their happiness with him. So, as you can tell from my comments here, this isn't even remotely a definitive list. Given my terrible luck with Pachacuti, for example, I'm going on other people's assessments in some cases. But I'm less enthused with the tall leaders like him and Confucius, and more enthused by happiness addicts like Charlemagne and Jose Rizal. I would play into that side of the Qajar rather than the tall building side. Um, yeah, I almost wanted to put them at the top of the list, but I don't know. I chickened out. Let's face it. Meanwhile, I know I've missed probably some obvious synergies and overstated some others, but that's what the comments are for. The comments, that place down below that can be blank for so long. Do something about that. When it comes to building tall, I've got theories and suggestions, but I'm always ready to be educated in this style of play. So just let it fly, will you? And if you liked what you've heard and or seen, drop a like or a subscribe down below. This is Civilized Raccoon, and I'll see you next time.